stayed at her house, made every single beat. I had to fly out early. It was 3 a.m. I'm like, I got to get some sleep. She looked at me. She's like, I don't think you're really about this. I don't think she said, I don't think you're going to make it. Have you ever heard of Goddess, the rapper? Nope, but you've heard of DJ Pain One because I'm still here. Good morning. It is DJ Pain One. I'm joined by Dame Ritter and Erinn Knight. This is the MEC podcast. And good morning. We appreciate you tuning in. I think everyone's doing well. I don't know about Erinn's TikTok, but I'll say this about mine. I was always a big advocate of people, and I still am, of people joining social media platforms when they're new. Get in, establish yourself, carve out your space. It'll be easier that way. And you don't have to play catch up. However, I was also encouraged by TikTok's seemingly democratic algorithm. It felt as though when you posted something that was solid, it was shown to people. And for me, that was the case. When my content got better and more engaging and I posted more of it, then the numbers reflected that. Now I'm lucky if I can break 1,000 views. So I don't know what changed. Something changed. I was posting frequently. I was posting infrequently. I was posting content straight to TikTok. I was posting content that was created externally. None of it is seeming to make a difference right now. So how has your journey been, Erinn? Are you experiencing similar roadblocks? Did something change in the algorithm?
No, nothing has changed. For me, I've never been able to make it successful. So kudos to you for hitting the stride. Last night yesterday, but I always post at night because that's the only time I have time to record TikTok videos. I posted my 90th video. So 90 days in a row. I know I had reported one time that I missed a day. And then the next day I posted at 8 a.m. and then at midnight. So I'm still counting it as 90 days. And yeah, I'm at a grand total of 151 followers. I started with 49 when I was on this journey. So I've grown 102 followers and I have 1,254 likes. So I think my biggest video has 800 views on it. So killing it right now. The lessons that I think I'm learning from this, I'm reading Atomic Habits again in the Excellence Academy. We just started a book club and that's our book club read right now. So I think for me, I'm learning, one, that I can do things consistently. I tell people all the time, I don't do things that I don't like, especially for a long time. And I don't like TikTok and I'm doing it. Another thing that I learned though, is that you have to do what's right for you, right? So people are like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. My thing is, if it doesn't fit my lifestyle so much, it may just not be for me. I posted again and I was like, hey, y'all, I hit 90 days, still really no movement. And somebody was like, you're supposed to post 5 times a day. I'm like, the goalpost on this has continuously moved. First, it was 1 time a day for 30 days. Then it was for 90 days. Then it was, you should be posting 3 times a day. Now they're saying 5. I am not giving an app that much time if it's not paying me already. So for me, I'm just recognizing that it doesn't fit my lifestyle, but I couldn't have said that 30 days ago. I couldn't even said that 20 days ago. Here's what I'm not going to do though. Surprisingly, I'm not going to stop posting to TikTok. I'm going to keep posting to TikTok until I can figure out what I want to channel my energy into, because at this point, the consistency is a lifestyle. And since I've developed this lifestyle of consistently recording content, it's only going to be beneficial. Even if it's not beneficial for TikTok, it's beneficial for me because I'm getting better at storytelling. I'm getting more concise with my thoughts and I'm being more open on the internet. So for me, I see it as a win, even though my ultimate win was 5,000 followers on TikTok. And I think I'm taking my skills to YouTube. So really, I think that TikTok is just going to be a bank for my YouTube shorts. Shout out to Cloud9. He is an avid supporter and follower. He's been doing a ton of research around it. My team is also doing the same thing. We're testing stuff with artists and seeing a lot of success. I follow a lot of creators who do that. And I had already been working on long form content. So now this is just going to support my long form content. So for me, at least for the rest of the year, I'm going to attempt to get one up a day for the rest of the year. And if nothing happens, cool. It's a data bank. It's a place where I tell stories. It's a place where I'm learning how to cultivate my messaging. And if it does work, then cool. But none of y'all TikTok experts told me the truth. So either way, I feel like I win.
Are you using any of their features? Like, are you using like trending filters, trending sounds, the green screen, like any, or are you just talking to the camera?
So I tried a trending sound, but I also don't want to chase a trend because I'm chasing the TikTok trend. And if TikTok's algorithm is as pure as they say it is, I shouldn't have to do all of the trendy things to win. But I have done a trending sound. I put words over most, like the little screen where it tells you what you're talking about. I put captivating words over it. I recently learned maybe a month back that how-to videos do the best on there. So I did more like in my caption, it would be how to, so I've tried and I've adapted a lot of things. I haven't done the green screen. I do voiceover stuff now. So I've tried things that feel authentic to me. I just don't want to change everything around the platform because then you just become a TikToker. I'm getting on TikTok as Erinn Knight. I'm not a TikToker whose name is Erinn.
But you can use the features to tell your story, right? Like they're just features, right? Like you can green screen whatever you're talking about, or because I think I just don't have the time for TikTok or the energy, especially because I manage Jaws TikTok for the most part. But like, I think that especially for the stuff we do, highlighting an article and then talking about it while having the article in the back. Like I've watched a lot of those, and there's different features to play with, and hopefully you can just use them and make them applicable to the stories that you're telling instead of seeming like you're chasing some type of, TikToker status. So anyway,
I also never get on the app. So that's another thing. I get on the app to post. And when I post, I check all my artist accounts. Not even daily. Honestly, I check out my artist accounts 2 or 3 times a week, and then I get off because I don't even run their social media. So somebody has told me because I am not like familiar with the pacing of TikTok that I'm doing it wrong as well. I disagree with that. I feel like I understand the app. I'm just not interested in chasing. But I agree with you. I think it's that like I don't want to put in even more effort. So that the green screen, you got to find a topic to talk about. Then you got to talk about it and make sure you don't fuck up your words and all that. And I just get on and talk like we're on the podcast. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes I re-record videos. It's not that I'm just like, but I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like it turns into this whole to-do. And I honestly don't care enough. Maybe TikTok can feel that I don't care that much because it's giving that back to me.
Yeah, and we have to be concise with our work because I think people just love going through videos just to like find something wrong so they can make a comment. Say, no, it wasn't blue, it was red. Like even with the baby post that we talked about where he only sold 500 tickets. People that follow us understand what I'm doing, but like maybe people that just come across the page, like I don't give a shit about the baby. And like the message that we tell has nothing to do with the baby. Like it's all about how difficult it is to put on shows. So whether it's the baby, whether it's Dua Lipa, whoever, like it doesn't matter. Like our messages are not about celebrities, right? Our messages, like the point, even if the baby, it could have sold 20,000, it was the promoter's fault. That still doesn't defeat the message that putting on shows and getting people to come out of their house is extremely difficult to do, right? That is true.
We get the best comments, by the way, on our content on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, the cat that said, "Oh, you guys talk too much." Like,
No, they said all we do is talk, and it's a podcast. But I mean, it's like the same people that comment when I posted.
I could dance for him. I could, I could do a
That
little
would help.
dance.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have my show on BeatStars is called Looped In, and it's a show that's based on user submitted loops. And so I remember when Winnie G broke the record and made 6 beats in one sitting, people were like, yeah, but she used loops. It's like, bitch, the show is called Looped In. But, it's that kind of content or that kind of comment. But we get other hilariously asinine comments too. I feel like we're just a magnet for it, even more so than my solo social media. And I get some weird stuff. I get some very weird stuff. The MEC Instagram takes the cake. I don't know why.
I think it's this music business space. Like everybody thinks, they know without having any experience. Like, I would consider us experts at this point. That doesn't mean we know everything, and we've admitted to that, and we've made mistakes, but once you have like 10 plus years in of like this, you're making a living and you're fairly successful. Like I would consider you an expert in that space.
Especially because the music industry evolves yearly. So if you figured out how to consistently make a living, you have to be an expert. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not an expert in everything or in all things, but in my little area of the world, I've had to figure out enough things to where I can help people. So I feel like people who comment stupid things like that, one, just want energy and attention from intelligent people, right? Like when people say stupid shit to me, I'm like, I recognize that you probably don't get high level conversations regularly. So you're looking to bait me because you want to be drawn into that. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't see somebody saying such a lowbrow comment actually expecting anything else. You just want to engage with somebody who's teaching you things. But I also feel like because nobody really understands the music industry, I would say even me. That's why I don't work in the music industry anymore. I'm a community builder. It just faces the music industry. I'm not trying to do this shit anymore because it doesn't make sense. I think because it doesn't make sense, so many people are disgruntled. So all they do is just try to pull down people who have made sense of it because they're like, well, I couldn't make sense of it. So nope, this is bullshit. And it's like, we get it, you're hurt, but maybe listen, because that's all I did. Every time I couldn't win, I listened and I figured it out.
Well, can I pick up on that?
No, you can't talk.
Just hold
on for like 60 seconds.
Damn, all right.
Of silence for Payne's almost dead cat.
My cat is fine. And the vase is cleaned up. No, I want to pick up on that because I don't even want to talk about the topic that I initially wanted to talk about today. Just because there is, as Erinn said, and you put it eloquently, there's, I don't remember what you said. I have to rephrase it. There are 2 sides to the music business education space, and both are equally prolific, if not the detractor side being more prolific than the productive side. There's the productive side, the people that know what they're talking about specific things, and then they, disseminate information about that thing that they're experts on. And then there's an equal or greater reaction from another side of people whose content isn't necessarily long form content. It's not necessarily, hour-long tutorial videos. It might be long form. Some of it is, but usually the content comes in the form of negative comments and rants and tweets about the people who are in the education space or about the topics they're educating people on. And, it goes back to last week's episode. There's middle ground too. There are the people that should be experts but are giving bad information, like what we saw with Indie Amplify. So there's this wide spectrum of I guess good to terrible information online. But to tie it all together with our Instagram, so the whole, and I want to talk more about the 50-50 split idea, and Erinn referenced it last week as well. You know, where a rapper will say, all right, producers, I'm not going to pay you for the beat, but I'll give you a 50-50 split. I don't want to get into that right now, but I did post about it. I onto the MEC Instagram, and I got a bunch of replies. Everyone has opinions about it. But there were some people that were creating, I would consider, long form educational content in the form of comments, because there were these long comments, these super drawn out debates. And those people don't like being challenged. So if you challenge them, they take it personally. It's like, you think you know everything because you got a blue check mark. You don't know shit. Fuck off, Payne. And then they go off. And like, this happens all the time. There's a debate. I think all I'm doing is disagreeing with their point, and suddenly it's like, oh, well, you a bitch and you think you know all this shit because you got a blue check, and the next thing I know, I'm getting tagged in stories, and it's like, look at this bitch ass motherfucker Payne and the talking all this shit. And it's like, oh wow, you were just trying to be negative. Now you're trying to get clout off the negativity. So you know, it's a good reminder to not debate with people that are just like walls that you try to talk to. But I want to bring it all full circle. I'm going to read a couple comments because I have them saved because they were just so crazy. So the one was from Sibilant's voice coach. She says this, and she's referring to the 50-50 split. She said, this has been my arrangement for the last year, and it works for me and the people I work with. I drive my streams, so every quarter we get in a check. It may be small, but we get in one for sure every time. And then she ends by saying, because this was a whole debate with her, she ends by saying, but if you're a non-working artist, yes, this is quite deceptive. So it's like, wait a minute, what? And then, you know, I checked on her Spotify, and she has 405 monthly Spotify listeners. So if you just read the first couple of lines of that, you're like, oh, this is maybe good advice. She knows what she's talking about. Another one by Just Wisdom, he writes, I make money on royalties. I did 50-50 splits with rappers. Although not all people do well with their streams, it pays off when they do. It'll also pay off if they get a major record deal. Imagine getting 50% off Old Town Road. It's a gamble, but the thing is music forever. And people love that comment. And I love Erinn's facial expression right now. People love this comment. They said it was really wise. There's so much wrong with it, especially the Old Town Road comment, because no one owns 50% of Old Town Road. Even if there weren't a sample in it, you know, once the label steps in, they're buying the masters. So, hey, why should a person actually understand the music business in order to give advice about it? Right? That's so inconvenient. Someone replied to that comment. I agree. Even with $10 a month, it'll add up $120 a year from the song. After 2 to 3 years, I'm sure you'll have the price of the beat you were charging and then more forever. $120 a year. So with that model, you would have to do this 470 times just to make the median individual income of the United States. But people throw numbers out there, and then people take it at face value.
They answered everything.
I mean, BeatStars has the numbers to, oh God, they're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, and this guy's talking about $10. Anyway, the original commenter, who everyone was loving, said finally, after all this debate, he finally says the 50-50 model works when you're not really making a living off music. Then it doesn't work. Why were you talking about it this whole time as though it was working for people and saying this works, and you have all these knuckleheads in the peanut gallery talking about, yeah, this is great advice, for you to only finally admit after all these paragraphs, all these deceptive paragraphs, this doesn't work if you're trying to make money. The whole conversation is about making money. What planet am I on right now?
We're called the Music Entrepreneur Club, not broke ass musicians club, not just trying to make it club. We are talking about money making tactics and how to sustain a living or create a living in the music industry. Our fans, that's what I'm going to call everybody. Our fans are great at saying some bullshit, being met with a response from one of us, and then moving the goalpost, and then reverting back to the original conversation. Like, I had to stop commenting because when I first joined the MEC, I was like, oh, everybody's here to learn. Let me engage. Oh, this is a misunderstanding. So I'm just like trying to clarify. And then Dane one day was like, yeah, I don't even talk to people anymore when they say crazy stuff on the page. And I started realizing I was spending an hour or two thinking I'm engaging with our core audience. They are our core audience. I'm still shouting y'all out. What's good? Please find problems and things that we say, because I recognize that in order to dislike someone so much that you spend your time and energy to write a dumbass comment, dumbass responses, and then mean things to that, that means you're actually more of a fan than all the other people. And I recognize that. Y'all may be frustrated by that understanding, but I'm never going to say I hate or don't like something and spend time on it. If I don't like it, I may mention it, you're not hearing about it again. I'm not spending time and energy. So for you to be tagging Payne, posting videos, for you to be trying to berate me, like, it's just a reflection of how you feel about yourself, because I'm unbothered. Do you know what I'm saying? But people got that at the beginning because people tried to come for me and I'm like, hey, y'all may not know any Black women, but if I'm your introduction, I'm not the one for this. So I just think it's very interesting how our fans engage with us. Some of y'all are weird, but I would also like to appreciate all the beautiful humans who respond, who encourage us, who say nice things. You don't have to say nice things. Just don't say dumb shit and be mean when you're wrong. Like, you can't be dumb and wrong. Like, dumb and mean. Like, choose a struggle. Either be dumb or mean, but don't come to an education profile and be dumb.
That's what blows my mind, because I really did think, that's my cat again. I really did think that people who were posting asinine stuff were just wrong, and it's a music business education platform. All I have to do is say, no, here's the correct information, and it would be fine. And they would say, oh, okay, yeah, my bad. But instead it's, oh, fuck you, you don't know shit, you got a blue check, sucking industry dick. It's like, why are you here, man? And I think the worst part is when they appear to know what they're talking about. Like the people that will post numbers, like, you could do this and make 100. It's always hypotheticals. Producers. Hold on a second. The whole producer conversation where people were saying, yeah, producers don't get paid for beats. Give away your beats for free in exchange for a 50-50 split. That was the whole premise of the conversation, was me saying, don't do that, because most people are making $0 on royalties. So you're getting 50-50 of nothing. You think you have ownership, but you have ownership in something that is quite literally worthless.
I really thought the first time you picked up your cat and threw it. So
No.
Like, yo, Payne is reckless. And then I saw you were throwing its toy.
Yeah. No, I'm throwing your toy. So then for people to respond to that by saying, no, 50-50 works because you can make, hypothetically, you can make $10 off of each track, even if the royalties, like, no, we're not, no, number one, we're not talking about people only making $10 off of royalties. That's not realistic. Trust me, I do this every day. Even if it were $10, again, think about how much that would have to add up in perpetuity to make it worthwhile for you. But these are the people in the comment section of our content disagreeing with the premise of what I post, what you post, what Dame posts, coming up with all of this information that appears to be, I don't know, well-researched or experiential, and it's just stuff they pulled out of their ass. And so, in the case, the example that I gave where the person's saying, yeah, do 50-50, it'll work out in the end. I'm engaging with them to debate because I know people are watching, because the comments are getting a ton of likes. And I'm like, oh man, they're miseducating my community. And then to have that person at the very end, what did they say? 50-50 doesn't work if you're trying to make a living. So everything I just talked about, I spent my entire afternoon posting these comments about how producers should do 50-50 deals, only to end it by leaving that one revealing comment that says 50-50 doesn't work if you're trying to do this for a living. It's like, wow, the damage is already done at that point. It's like with the Indie Amplify post. That post has been up for weeks. If suddenly the Futuristic came out and said, you know what, that information was wrong, here's the correct information, the damage is already done. People have been seeing it. there for weeks. They've committed it to their memory and their subconscious memory bank of music business topics. The damage is done.
It would still be helpful. I mean, the only thing I disagree on is like I don't feel like these people. That's why I don't respond to them. Like I don't feel like they're our core. Like the people that rock with us. Like I can look through the comments to look for comments to pin to look, that are supportive or add on to what we're saying. Like I don't think these people. A lot of these people don't even follow us. Like I don't know if you ever clicked through this.
They follow me though. That's why I feel like they're our core audience. Because
they definitely not. They definitely
then
not.
They say shit. Then they follow me. So I'm like, you got to be the core audience. What's up, gang?
They're definitely not the core, and that's why we shouldn't have devoted a half of a podcast to them either. So moving on to
they deserve some love because they spend a lot of time on the Instagram page.
That's already.
That don't mean they deserve love.
Instagram dollars that they giving us. That's it.
That don't mean they deserve love.
They deserve something.
But if you don't mind, if we can switch topics, I wanted to talk about management. And I was just thinking, I don't know what, because I've been thinking about it for a few weeks, and I've been meaning to talk about it on the podcast. And I don't even remember like why I wanted to talk about it, but I think it would be a good topic. And it's around like, how much do artists know that their managers are doing for them? So Payne, you spent time as a manager. Erinn, you're currently managing artists. Like maybe the best way to think about it is like percentage wise, maybe like what percentage do you think your artists know like exactly what you do for them on a day-to-day basis, or like how much time spent? Like you think they know like 50% of it, like 20%, 30%? Like if you had to guess, Erinn, like what percent do they know you're doing and how much time you're spending?
They have no idea, but they don't think about it. Artists only think about me when they need something. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, no, my artists aren't thinking about what percentage they're thinking. The only time they think that is if they're not getting a result that they want. Instead of thinking about themselves, they come and say, hey, I don't think you're doing enough. That's the only time. Because if they actually spent time thinking about how much I'm doing on a daily basis, they would never actually come and say that bullshit to me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because that statement doesn't make sense, especially if you know anything about me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you've ever met me, like I suffer from overworking and doing too much, sometimes to the point that I'm like, I got to take more things off of my plate, but I'm consistently, if anything, researching. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I was talking to one of my artists literally last night, and I was like, I'm winning so much favor with Nigerian men because one of my artists is Nigerian now. So I've just been studying the culture for 4 years. So it's not every day. I'm not taking a deep dive. I still don't know how to speak Yoruba. You know what I'm saying? But I know way more than I think the average American now knows about Nigerian culture. So when I meet Nigerian people, I'll ask a question or say a thing, and I always see people like, what? That to me is indicative that I've spent a ton of time on this, right? But I can't tell you how many hours I've spent auditing Nigerian culture in America, Nigerian culture in the UK, Nigerian culture in Toronto. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's just one quick little snapshot. So I don't think artists ever think about it. I think if they feel like the output or their rewards are coming fast enough, they're cool. But if there's ever a low moment or ever any type of something not going on, then it comes into question how much I'm working for them. But they couldn't even fathom. I think I spend more time on my artist, at least not necessarily recording, but I think I spend more time, I used to, maybe not now, I spend more time on my team, but I think I have spent more time on my artist historically than my artists have spent on themselves.
But I mean, I think that's common. I think that with managers that, understand the role and, put a lot of time and effort in. Payne, if you could just say percentage wise, when you were managing artists, like what percent do you think they knew about that you were doing versus like they didn't know about?
That's a can of worms because initially it was probably, it's hard to say. What I hate to do this to you, Dame, but define no, because I would the start of the relationship, we'd have meetings and I would present the information and show them, this is the research I've done. These are the people I've contacted. These are the opportunities I brought. But is that the same as the artist actually knowing what I did? I mean, knowing what it involved? Because they were just kicking back like, oh yeah, this is cool. But I don't think they were retaining that information.
No, I mean, like, most artists think that things just pop up out of nowhere or that they had a larger role to play in some successful outcome.
Yeah.
When in reality, let's just take, for example, Big Job now has the lesbian homie behind a paywall on a platform called Moment House, or I think it's called Moment now. They just did a name change. And to set that up, first to do the research to kind of figure out what platforms make the most sense, what features each platform has, what are the pros and cons, and then kind of reaching out to the platform, going back and forth, understanding what their compensation is, getting them all the deliverables, the files in the right size. Like, there's a lot of work to kind of set that up. So, like, and I don't have this problem with Ja. Like, I think Ja, like, he'll tell me that he respects and appreciates like the time and energy that I put in. And he says thank you. And that's something that's rare, in the management world. People may think you should hear that all the time, but it's rare. Matter of fact, when Ja first said that to me, it threw me off because I didn't realize that can have such a positive impact on me, just that word, just because I'd never really heard that before. And I got a bonus last year just out of the blue. So I don't have I'm not complaining about Ja.
Yo, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess he talked about it. As I hit him up, I was like, Ja, I hit our business manager up. I was like, hey, there's some money in my account that I don't know why I got it. And they was like, no, Ja, that's the Christmas bonus. And I was like, oh, for sure, hit him up and thanked him. I'm saying this about prior experiences and from what I see. And when I talk to artists, like Ja's more like we go back 20 years. He's, we're the same age. So I think there's definitely, and he's just a different type of cat. So never am I ever complaining about Big Ja on this podcast. Like that would never happen. That's my guy. But I've seen, just a lot of artists that just don't understand all the time energy. And I don't think a manager's job is to kind of shield them from some of that. Right. So I don't know what the balance is. How much should artists know about what the manager is doing to prevent those conversations, Erinn, saying, hey, I don't think you're doing enough. Like, that's just an out of pocket question, especially if you don't know. Like maybe the question should be, hey, Erinn, I don't understand some things. Can you help me understand like how you approach this or what all went into this instead of just jumping straight to the conclusion that you're not working?
Right. But the thing is, the only time they say you're not working is when they're not reaching a result that they want. And I had to do this with the last artist that I dropped off. I came back and I said, hey, I make 20% of everything. I'm not your business partner. If it's not moving like you want, that's indicative of you, not me. And I can stand on my 2 feet and say that. I know that. When I was a younger manager, I used to have artists say shit like that to me, and it would get in my head. I'd be like, damn, maybe I'm not doing enough. But I'm like, if you would like my percentage to reflect the work that you're asking for, then I can step up to the plate. But if not, realistically, but to be honest, I've done my 80%. I've done 80%. You are now asking me to do 100% and you become the benefactor. And I'm not doing that because I'm swinging. That doesn't mean I'm hitting every ball. You can't tell me that I'm not showing up to practice every day. And another thing, the way that life ebbs and flows, you can't always be winning. There is something that's born inside of you. There is an understanding, there is a desire, there is a will that is grown when you're told no. So if you're constantly getting yeses, you're not growing like you need to. You're not figuring out what's the actual direction for you. You're taking everything that comes. Versus if you carve it out, now you have to tell people, no, this is how I want it and this is what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I was talking to HBO last night and they were like, after hours, hey, can you do this, 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 and this? And I was like, yeah, I can do that, but I need y'all to do this. They said, cool. Like it was just a conversation. Had it been me even 2 years ago talking to HBO, I wouldn't have known what to ask. But I've had to do this shit on my own now. And I've had to figure it out. And it's so hard to come by. So now when I get on the phone with them, it's easy. And they say yes because they hear the confidence in my voice. I'm not fishing for shit. And they know I will walk away. You can tell somebody who doesn't need you. Yeah. So then I get what I want. But when you need somebody, you come from this place of desperation and artists don't understand that. They're like, I want this, I want this, I want this. It's not here yet because we're not ready. If you don't understand that, it's not on me. We're working. Ain't nobody on this side chilling. I'm in therapy because I don't rest enough. I went to a psychologist yesterday and he was like, you don't have enough time where your mind isn't on. So certain parts of your body aren't healing properly. And I was like, what? So on this side, there's no laziness. If you're questioning me after you started working with me, that's your ego talking. Because you started working with me because you see the way that I work.
Well, they need therapy for that. I've worked with artists, rappers who have said those things to me, you're not doing enough, you're not, and I would feel bad about it. And the rapper I'm thinking of is not someone I was managing. It was someone I was producing for. It was this one night I was producing for this rapper, right? And I was producing pretty much her entire project. I had flown out to Texas where she was at, stayed at her house, made every single beat. And I had to fly out the next day. And I had already made we had done maybe 10 songs while I was there for a 3 or 4 day period. I had to fly out early. It was 3 a.m. I'm like, I got to get some sleep. She looked at me. She's like, I don't think you're really about this. I don't think she said, I don't think you're going to make it. Have you ever heard of Goddess, the rapper? Nope, but you've heard of DJ Payne 1 because I'm still here. So I learned early on that people use that kind of negative talk. They try to bring you down, to try to tell you, you're not about this. If you manage someone, why aren't you doing more for me? They'll use that kind of talk because they just want to suck your energy and get every little drop out of you. And guess what they're going to do? Once you've had enough and you walk away because you finally realize that you're worth more than that, they're just going to find someone else and do the same thing and just repeat the cycle. And so the problem is, I don't think artists that you manage that aren't grateful or don't acknowledge your efforts, it's not about letting them know what you're doing. It's about telling these particular artists to eat a dick and go somewhere else. Because like you said, Dame, with Big Ja, for example, you don't have a problem with him. That's how it's supposed to be. People who manage artists, people who produce for artists, people who are booking agents for artists, we're not supposed to have these conflicts with them. We're not supposed to have them treat us like a toxic partner. You know what I mean? It's typical. It's normalized in the music business. I hate it, but it shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't be in abusive relationships with the artists that we work for, not even with, for. Because when I was in that situation with the rapper that I just talked about, I wasn't even getting paid. And I was producing everything. I never got a cent off the album sales. And she was making a living off it. She had a house. She had a car. I didn't have any of those things back then. So I watched the manager. There's no ambiguity here. None. You can't say that there's any question whether or not this manager put in his work. I saw this manager get this artist who didn't deserve to have big shows. I saw this manager around this artist 24/7, damn near, like a big brother. I saw this manager drive this artist to South by, drive the whole way, drive like a chauffeur. That's not what a manager does. He drove this artist all the way to Texas for South by for a show. You know, another thing, the kid didn't get the show himself. You know, he got it through me, but it was on the strength of my relationship with the manager. And after all of that, he still said, I don't think you did that much for me. I think I can do this on my own. And they severed their ties. There's at that point, it's not about observing what the manager's done and making the connection in your head that this guy actually contributed to my career. There's something totally wrong that you need therapy to address because you're not seeing reality for what it is. You're just not. If someone walks up to me and gives me $10,000 every fucking morning of my life, and then on the 90th day, I'm like, man, this person never gave me shit. I did this shit on my own. There's something wrong with me. I'm not seeing reality. I need help. It's not about showing proof. It's not about meetings. It's not about data. There are just artists out there that are unmanageable. I hate to say it, there are artists out there, but it's a reality. Some people are just unmanageable. Same way some people are.
Artists are unmanageable.
Yeah, well, it's like saying most men are undateable. Yeah, most people are undateable. We're fucked up. We're toxic. We have trauma we haven't resolved. I always bring it back because I'm single. The dating market is shit. It's awful. But I'm looking at music the same way, where it's like the majority of people that I meet in either arena don't have the right intentions. They don't know why they're there. They've sabotaged every situation, whether it's a relationship or a romantic relationship or it's a management artist relationship. Yet they haven't changed anything fundamental about themselves in order to walk into a new situation, romantic or professional, and do the right things. So I think it's just a matter of the only solution I can think of is if you're in management, have a list, sit down and write a list. Dating too, have a list, write down a list of green flags and red flags, and then write down your list of expectations and boundaries. Because if you let people walk all over it, you're just going to end up in another toxic relationship, whether you're dating, whether you're managing someone, and you're going to walk out of that space an older person. You're going to have less energy, and it's just going to damage your soul. So I think, find yourself a big job, you know what I mean? And don't settle for anything less than that. Don't settle for a goddess.
Well, I don't want to, I want to give artists some insight into how to develop a better working relationship with their manager. So if you guys can give some tips, I definitely have some things that artists can do just to make sure that there's always a mutual respect. And that even if a relationship ends, it doesn't end crazy. It's just maybe a difference of opinion, or maybe one of you outgrow each other. Like, things happen, you don't expect people to stay together forever. But Erinn, like, what would you suggest to artists, just to try to keep a healthy relationship if they currently have a manager, maybe just in terms of how to approach things, or like Payne was saying, boundaries to set, like what would you suggest to artists?
I'm gonna talk to artists and young managers because I wish somebody talked to me. If you're an artist / young manager, you should be communicating regularly with your artist within the framework of a meeting. That's what we do now. My artists we still text. Like, I have one on a flight right now, and we text. I'm not saying that I call them out the blue, they call me out the blue, but we always have structured meetings. That way, you're getting a flow of business that flows in both directions, and not just getting flooded from the artist what they need, or the manager just asking questions. Because again, a lot of times I just need a few answers. I'm gonna go work. You have no idea. But then when I sit down and talk to you, I'm like, hey, this is what we're working on. This is what we did. Da 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 da. I need you to do this. And then artists, be active participants in your business. This is your business. They are managing your business. If you owned a grocery store and you had a manager and you never walked in the grocery store, and then you came one day and everything was stolen and they took your register, that's your fault, not the manager's. You own it. Act like it. Stop putting so much on the manager. And then I think too, expressing genuine gratitude comes from understanding. I think a lot of times people will say thank you, and I'm like, you're thanking me for the result. But when people are like, man, I know this and this and this, that understanding curates a gratitude. A lot of times understanding comes from experience So get in the trenches, whether that's, like even for my artists now, my artists pull up to my events. Like, come on, come see what I'm doing outside of you, right? Or, they tune into the podcast or whatever. Like, support goes both ways. When you see what I'm doing and what I'm talking about, you understand me more. A lot of times, artists just have a ton of output and the managers are assessing that, talking to you. The manager will know an artist like the back of their hand. An artist, like, I used to joke, my artists don't know my favorite color and they don't know how many siblings I have. Even right now, I think Wande does because she's a woman and she's interested in caring, but I think that's important. And then we do maintenance every year now. At the end of the year, we do a maintenance call. So it's like, hey, how are you feeling about what's going on? Are there any things that bothered you? What things about the way that we operate do you not like? On both sides. I will tell my artists and our artists will tell us. Typically, it's us telling the artist stuff and they're like, hey, I didn't notice that. But I'm also very forthcoming. I won't fuck up the energy and like say something before a show. But if there's an issue, I'm going to sit, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to go talk to another business person about it. And then I'm going to come and address it with you and usually with somebody else on my team so that there's a checks and balance system. And then from there, if it don't work out, it don't work out. But artists, I would say, pay attention to what your managers are doing. You shouldn't have to ask them. Go observe, especially if you have a good manager. If you just got a homie and y'all are trying to figure it out, don't be weird. But if you are making a full-time living and you've consistently made a living, you should be able to observe how good your manager is, what they've done, and what their style is. You should be able to praise them according to that. Like Ja gave you a Christmas bonus. That's incredible. Wande hasn't given me a Christmas bonus, but like she bought me a new computer, a new Mac 2 years ago because I really needed a computer. You know what I'm saying? Like she didn't have to ask me. She observed that I need a new computer. And then she was just like, surprise. You know what I'm saying? Like, be a good human. What would you expect? What would you want? Think about your manager as a person first. Maybe that's where we start. And then from there, treat them as such. And then be grateful that they're dedicated to your dream. I think artists, it's so hard. Like, if the roles were switched, would you be going this hard for something that I created in my head? The answer is always no. You would not. And I like when I talk to my artists, I say things like that. I'm like, we're here to serve your dream. And I use that type of wording because I want you to understand that only a service-based human would be here for this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I get corporate America, you're serving somebody's dream, but you're getting a check. Management is you're directly in the bed with this person, winning and losing every night, and they could boot you tomorrow, and there's no rights for you. So look at them as a person, treat them as such, thank them from a place of understanding, and then look out for them sacrificially. They're sacrificing. If you don't, I don't have any money, figure it out. I wish more of my artists would sacrificially give to me the way that I give to them. And that doesn't have to be every day, but figure out something that's a sacrifice, give it to your manager. Something that they want though. Don't give them no bullshit.
Right. Payne, what about your feedback or advice for artists just to kind of have a better working relationship with their manager?
Well, I've had more managers more times than I've managed artists. And I do appreciate transparency and I do appreciate contact and constant communication. I think for me, just knowing what I want out of a situation and communicating that clearly from the beginning means I don't really ever have to doubt what the manager is doing. Because if I'm looking at the points that I brought to the table and we agreed on, all I have to do is see if the boxes are being checked. For me, if I need from my manager for them to negotiate on my behalf every time I get a placement and communicate with me throughout the process and follow my lead because it's my situation, and that's not happening, then all I have to do is say, hey, look, we agreed on this, it's not happening. And if it is happening, then I shouldn't be paranoid because I'm getting exactly what I wanted. And that's way healthier than me just stepping into a situation. This is what a lot of people do when they get managed or when they're in a relationship. They have all these expectations in their head. They have all these boundaries in their heads. They have all these needs and desires, and they don't communicate any of them. So So they're sabotaging themselves because there's no way for them to know whether or not those needs are even being addressed by the other person because you're not on the same page. So just get on the same page. I think that's especially helpful for artists because, granted, most artists who want a manager don't need a manager. They're not doing anything. And a great way to test yourself to see if you fall in that category is write down your goals and your needs. And if it's stuff that you can already do yourself, then just do it yourself. Because if you're not doing it yourself, that just means you're lazy and you're not actually as dedicated to this as you think you are. But if you have actual real needs that you don't feel like you can learn to do yourself or you just don't have the capacity for, great, but you don't want to just jump into a situation with a manager because they say they can manage you. You have to say this. It's like a job application. Can you do this, this, and this? And if they say yes, then, see how it goes. But that's your checklist. Is it happening? Yes. Then you need to appreciate that person. Is it not happening? No. Then maybe that's not the right manager for you. Saves everybody a ton of heartache.
Yeah, so I would agree with all of that. I think my list is probably 20 deep, but I'm trying to think of like the top the top things that would really help me do my job. Communication, quick communication, right? Like when we're setting things up, like a lot of times these third parties, they need answers. And oftentimes, like it's an answer from you. Like I can't just give the answer because if I give the answer, you might be upset with how things get set up and then all the, shit hits the fan. So artists that communicate quick or anybody that communicates quick is a blessing to me because I got so many moving parts. There's so many emails and people I have to get back to. So being accessible and communicating quickly, I think having a certain level of understanding of the business allows our conversations to be more constructive. I'm not saying you need to understand the business. Like I understand the business, but you need to have some understanding of the business that you say you want a lifelong career in. And if you don't have it, let's get you some resources, ask me some questions. And that's probably the third thing, right? Like instead of getting upset at something, like try to resist that urge and ask questions. Say, hey, Dame, like, because that's what Ja will do sometimes. He'll hear something from some random ass person about, making some suggestion on what he should be doing or saying what he's doing is not the right thing. And then he'll come back to me and he'll say, well, Dame, why did we do this way? And we can have a conversation about it. And that's much more constructive than saying like, damn, man, how come we're not doing this? Just be more conscious of the tone and know that your manager is putting in a lot of work, especially if you feel like you have a good person that's a manager, somebody that is working, like know that they're putting in a lot of work, only getting 15, 20%, whatever the deal is. I probably need to see Erinn's therapist because I don't turn my thoughts and ideas off, like unless I'm hooping. And that's why I love playing basketball so much, is because when I'm hooping, like I don't think about nothing else other than the game. So, those are things that I think can help just artists and managers have a better relationship. I remember the Funk Volume days, like I was always trying to chase Hobson to do something or to get an answer for something, and he would be out skating, and that'd be so disrespectful, like to know that I'm sitting here like working. And then he'll call me like 2 days later, like, yeah, I was at the skate park. Like, what? So yeah, and I had me and Ja, we don't have, I think we have a great relationship, but sometimes, he does things that unbeknownst to him, like really kind of get under my skin. Like, for example, like we'll have a bunch of stuff that we need to do, but he's always getting asked to do stuff for other people because other people want him on the platform to bring attention to what they're doing. And a lot of people have done favors for him. So it's a very, they exchange favors all the time. But when we have so much that we're doing and a lot of the things are what actually compensate me, but you're out doing all of these other like random things without getting the stuff that actually pay our bills done. Like, I know you're not tripping about it because everything you do, you're getting 85% of, but like that 15%, like, help me help my family too. Like I want you to do the things that you want to do for your friends. And, I understand you got to return favors and things, but like, managers got to artists should be making sure their managers are straight too, because they're dedicating a ridiculous amount of time to hopefully allowing you to live your dream. So just be mindful of that and just have more constructive conversations, less accusatory bullshit, and just try to gain a better understanding of what is actually happening in the industry that you say you want a career in. So those would be my suggestions. I think we can, I don't know if there's anything else to say. I think we've gone for about an hour. I think we can wrap it up, Payne.
Yeah, I think we gave some good suggestions. But again, what do you know? You just have a blue check. So appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back same time, same place next week. I'm live every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on beatstars.live. You can submit 3 loops every single week, and either myself or a celebrity producer guest will make beats with them live, which is an amazing show. And I will personally text you every time we go live. Dame, let them know the number.
All you got to do is text MEC to 844-206-7800. And last thing I forgot to mention in the beginning, check out the interview that Nori did with B2K on Drink Champs. I always find it interesting kind of listening. Obviously, since I've been through my own bullshit, like I feel like I have totally different questions when I hear stories of like how things ended. But there's a lot to learn about the industry in that conversation, or maybe just a lot of questions that you might have. Maybe we talk about, I don't know if you guys saw it, but maybe we talk about it on the next MEC podcast.
I think that should be the next podcast. We just break that down from our different perspectives and kind of go on rabbit trails.
Yeah, I think it was a good episode. Nori's a trip sometimes, but
he's your drunk uncle at the barbecue. When I look at him through that framework, I'm cool. If I look at him as a media personality, a lot of times I get annoyed. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm like, shut up. Please let them talk. What are you talking about? Stop being so loud. But he's my drunk
uncle. He earned his right to be the drunk uncle. If we're talking about like hip hop as a family, he earned that spot.
That's what I'm saying. For me, when I first got on, I was trying to be like, but now I'm like, he my drunk uncle. I rock with it. He makes me laugh.
Sometimes he's hilarious, but then sometimes like somebody's telling a story and then he distracts. I'm like, yo, I want to hear.
He goes on a completely other tangent. It's like, damn, that was going to be great content.
I was like, yo, I wanted to hear that. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, all right, we out.
At least he's not glad. All right, peace, everyone.
Peace.